In the meantime, you ever think the mood on the Hill is so poisoned right now, so poisoned, that nothing gets done? My next guest remembers the time it did get done. He worked with Ronald Reagan. You could actually go back to JFK. But in his case, and Reagan remembered, author and former ambassador Gilbert Robinson talked about a time and a period when there was give and take, and leadership was very pragmatic. And Ronald Reagan, I think, famously said, I'd rather get, what, 80% of the loaf than no loaf at all?
Yeah, he told Jim Baker that. It was his chief of staff, and said, Jim, let's get 80% and not go flying over the cliff with our flag.
What happened to us? Because I was remembering even in the Cuban Missile Crisis with John Kennedy, and he said, you don't want to go overboard rubbing the Soviets' faces in a deal that might appear to be negative for them. But he would work with Republicans on tax cuts, even against his own party, and cobble together a coalition to do so. Ronald Reagan, of course, as you famously said with Tip O'Neill and the White House residents and negotiating wins. Why can't we do that?
Well, I think we can. I think some of the leadership has got to step back now and emulate what Reagan did. I mean, when you really think about it, Reagan was a Republican president, and he had both houses of Congress as Democrats, and he worked with them very well. You know,
it helped that he was elected in back-to-back landslides, right?
Oh, yes, that helps. Okay, but you know why? People believed in him. He gave them a lift. He made the country believe again, happy, constructive. He was really a great president. And in the book, I find that 81 people that we had in the book, I mean, they worked their heads off for him, and they have wonderful stories about how the president got things done.
You know, and I noticed, Ambassador, he did in a way without being petulant or childish or nasty tit for tats. I mean, almost too good to be true. And the reason why I mentioned it, today we're told it's my way or the highway. We're told that compromise is a sign of weakness. And Reagan seemed to see it very differently.
Yeah, well, one of the stories in the book, Secretary Shultz was invited to dinner with his wife at the White House, and he knew that the president, this was new, and the president wanted to meet Soviet leaders and size them up, see if he could do business. So he said to him, look, Tuesday, Dobrynin, who's been ambassador for 24 years to the U.S. and knew the whole Politburo and was part of it, he said, I could bring him over. And Reagan said, I got 10 minutes, let's do it. He brought him over, and it was an hour and a half, and he said, and Schultz said he waxed without notes or anything very well about human rights and about the Soviet Jewry, and there were Pentecostals who were holed up in the embassy since the Carter days, and 60 of them, families. And so Reagan said to Dobrynin, look, he said, there are 60 Pentecostals in our embassy. If you'll work that out so we can take them, he said, I won't embarrass you. I won't crow about you. 2 months later, the Soviets let them go quietly, and he knew he could do business. And that's the beginning of what he did with Gorbachev.
Real quickly, anyone in the Republican bunch strike you as that sort of a deal maker? Jeb Bush said that he'd be a coalition builder. Do you buy that?
Well, yes. I think his father was a wonderful vice president, one of the most loyal. One of the stories in the books is Bill Webster, the head of FBI, talking at a Claire Booth Lewis dinner for Reagan, all about that and how loyal he was. Now, I think
very
Bush,
close. They had their weekly luncheons.
Yeah, and I think the sons have learned from him a lot. And I think that we have 3 governors going. I think it's going to be a year of the governors.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we have a crowded field, Ambassador.
Oh,
you know, the ambassador, he was there the Khrushchev-Nixon days. So I told him he had to be 8 years old when that started. He's been around a long time. He knows what he's doing. Thank you, sir. Very, very good having you.